Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work.
Let the conversation begin. This is Let's Talk with your host, Carl Lee.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Lee, and I'm your host for Let's Talk. And Hollis, I'm gonna say this part of the show because I think of the old opening. Yeah. So I got my paper because I wanted to go back and pull it up because I think it's relative to the conversation that we're gonna have today. Let's Talk is a deep dive into sports, culture, social issues, and how they connect and shape today's society. Yeah. I think that fits some of this conversation that we're going to have today.
For sure.
Would you agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So everybody knows Hollis Lewis and is my co-host, and so now we got two guests here today. I'm gonna have them introduce themselves and listen. Give us some good stuff about you. We're about the good stuff. So let us know. Nicole, you can start it.
My name is Nicole Taylor, and I am the mother of a current Capitol High School football player, Camden Harris. He's a sophomore. Just a mom for the community. Love my community.
A perfect mom, a football mom on top of
no
that.
Perfect mom, no sir, no sir. We gonna tell the truth.
and Coach Lee.
Oh, come on now, you Coach Lee.
Coach Lee, give me a little bit of information about yourself.
Well, I'm Jason J-Bo Lee. I always got to throw the J-Bo in when I'm on the streets of this East End. Grew up over here. Went to Capitol High School. Graduated in 1998. My wife teaches there. I'm also the father of a Cougar, number 22. Jason Lee, the kicker, and just a longtime fan and supporter of the blue and gray. But also, more importantly, as you see on my coat, I'm the head coach at Horseman Middle School, which is a Capitol High School feeder. So that's just a little bit about me.
Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I really need you to get comfortable because today's show, my whole goal for today's show is for the suits, Ryan Wells specifically. Uh-oh. Okay?
We name dropping today?
Yeah, we're name dropping today. We have to name drop because I want him to hear what it's like from a mother, from a father, from a coach of what he has on the table, what he has placed on the table. I want him to understand what that is. And at any given time, you can respond to me because I have reached out to you on Facebook. So feel free to call me, send me a message, anything. But I think we need to talk, okay? So let's talk. All right? So here's my problem. We have 14, 15-year-old kids and I'm going to ask you this question, Coach, in a little bit, right? About how much information do the kids that come to middle school have? I know how little they have because I'm at the youth football level. And then how much they have going to high school. Okay? And Nicole, I'm going to ask you, after these horrible losses, how do you feel? And then not only how you feel, but how you have to change when your son comes out and feels horrible about the score of that game. I want you folks out there, I want you to hear, I want you to feel what this rule is doing. And for those people who think it's good, I mean, I don't understand how you can do that. But Hollis, give me a little bit of feedback before I jump into Nicole and Coach.
Well, you said a lot, man. I mean, we calling people out by name now. We become that show.
Yeah. I mean, hey, my thing is, I just if you believe in what you created, come defend it.
Got you.
Say how good it is. Mm-hmm. Prove to me that it's good.
Yeah. Well, I think like over the last several weeks, over months at this time, people have gotten familiar with my point of view on it. Like I have several, not necessarily different point of view, but I approach it from different angles.
Right.
So I'll let our guests talk and kind of give their angles and respond that way.
Okay, that's fine. Nicole, tell me after.
In 8 weeks now.
Yeah, after 8 weeks, and you have watched the games. You see your son after the game. You see his emotions. You have your own individual emotions watching it. As a parent, tell us a little bit about what this is like. What has this season been like for you and your son?
Well, it's been a difficult 2 years,
Yes.
not just this season. The transfer portal really kicked in hard for this year, which we knew that was coming. The games have been really difficult. Our boys have really tried to maintain their positivity. They're great athletes. They truly are. To keep them, just telling them to keep their head up was the most important thing. But I do want to address the fact that these kids have a voice as well, and you would be surprised of what they would have to say. I just wish someone would talk to the athletes. As far as it goes with the losing record, I mean, it was going on last season as well. Everyone says we have a young team. We didn't have a young team last year. So it goes a little bit deeper
Right.
for me and for several parents and for the athletes. I won't speak for everyone, so I'll just speak for myself.
Okay.
I'm not against the transfer portal. What is the issue is what we need to look into as to why our children are wanting to transfer.
Now that's it. Now,
So you're looking at the reason why as opposed to the actual rule.
Absolutely.
Okay.
now that's a conversation that I can actually really work with. Now, because I guess the rule is that you can't recruit kids.
Quote unquote.
Quote unquote, you can't recruit kids. So somebody had to try to talk to some of those kids. I don't want to, yes I do. I do want to blame, there's somebody in your system, in Hurricane system. I said it out loud. There's somebody in her.
We just pointing to Hurricane. It's a multitude of schools now.
There's a multitude,
Yeah,
but I
it just ain't
choose
Hurricane.
Hurricane.
You choose
I
Hurricane.
choose Hurricane. I choose Hurricane. I choose Hurricane because they just beat my school to death.
Yeah,
So I
did.
choose them, but I choose it for other reasons too, but everybody knows what that is too. So somebody that's in that red and white is talking to these kids and saying, hey, how about come my way? They're not just
So you don't think it's just a matter of them just looking around and saying, "Hey, maybe I like to go over there or go over there." You think it has to be somebody that's actually doing this quote unquote recruiting?
No.
Talk to the athletes. I think that our children, and I can speak on our athletes that are at Capitol High right now. Majority of the team, a great portion of this team, has a GPA of 4.0 or above. Okay, so they're pretty smart and they know what's going on. They're looking at a program. They see this in other schools. I'm not saying, because I don't know if a coach is coming out, but I'm not
making the case that it is the coach.
Okay.
I am making
you're
the
just saying
case
it's somebody.
It is somebody. And let's be honest, the coach knows who that somebody is, though. I will say that. I know. Protect him.
I'm not protecting him. I don't know that for sure. So
I don't either. But I said it.
But Coach Lee, the real Coach Lee, or the current Coach Lee. So you have these kids, the 8th, 7th, 6th graders.
Right.
They're coming up. What are the conversations that you're hearing, and what's the vibe with the kids as far as how they're assessing what they're going to do at that next level?
Well, actually, right now, we've got positive blue and gray vibes by and large. I think the majority of my kids that played through me this year, and those who even finished up with me last year are at Capitol High. We're priding ourselves at Horseman right now. We are sending our kids to Capitol High, doing our part of it, because as a middle school coach, that's really all I can do. We speak positively of the blue and gray. Actually, in our locker room, I don't want you wearing other schools' colors, whether they be red and white, burgundy and gray, red, white, and blue. Anybody else that's not blue and gray, don't come in this locker room with it. Actually, we had some kids try to fight another kid who wore a purple shirt in our locker room that I had to break up.
And see, that's big.
So,
that's
yeah.
big. I'm okay with that, because that kid understands what and where he or she is going.
Right. Now, I know the rule says, and I said this at my banquet yesterday, you can go anywhere you want to go. And I told the kids, start reaching out to your coaches now. I didn't advocate for Capitol at my banquet because I'm kind of done fighting the good fight. I'm actually one of these parents my kid was not recruited by anybody. Nobody wanted my poor little kicker son. And that's fine. I love him because I wasn't driving the Hurricane no way anyway. Nor was he. So don't recruit us. We ain't even about that life like that. So I'm just looking at, I guess I'm taking a slightly different angle, is how can we help the product overall? Because what I'm seeing from the press box is a DoorDash. I'm sorry. What we see from the press box, I'm the public address announcer too for the Cougars.
You got that radio voice.
It's a poor product from up high for all across the board.
Right.
When you're getting people beat 80-something to nothing.
And you're talking about schools in the county.
Schools in the county, across the state, all these high scores, that's a poor paying product. Like if I'm Joe Blow from the community and I want to come to a football game, I'm not paying to watch that.
Well, and hold your thought right there, because I responded to someone on Facebook, and they were talking about these scores are normal. These scores have been like this before. And I said, no, they haven't. Now, they've been since the transfer, but back in my day, Hollis, back in your day, I don't know anybody ever scored 60 points. But to that point, I asked Dave Weekley. Now, Dave Weekley has been around sports longer than almost everybody. Yeah. And I asked him that today, and he says no, he does not remember scores like that ever. And I think anybody who said it being a bit disingenuous, right? Because you may have seen a score like that like maybe once or twice a season. So if you were a poor team back in the day, you probably got some points put up on you maybe once, maybe twice. But I think what we're seeing is routinely, and we're seeing it from several different schools, right? You're seeing it from a multitude of schools getting those points put up on them. So I think that's the issue right now. And people who say that that's routine, I'm with you. I don't buy that. Yeah, that makes no sense. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
But yeah, it's just the product looks bad across the state when you look at it that way, and it's because of the disparity of talent, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And now to Nick's point, we can dive into why there is that gap, but I just see a gap from on high, and it's just to me it's a bad look.
I don't understand how if I'm one of those teams that have already recruited a host of kids already, why do I need to recruit? Why am I still recruiting? Why am I still recruiting? Because if you go back 3 years at South Charleston, they lost 5 out of their last 6 games. I come in and win maybe 1. But the difference in that season that was 5-6 or 6-5 or 6 and whatever, that before me, there was Wayne Harris, Mondrell Dean, every kid that has left was on that team, and they lost all but 1 game in the last half of their season. Then when I come in, all those kids that were the talented kids left. Now you got a coach there that's trying to win with young kids, and some of these kids just out of middle school, just into high school. Now my question is, if you go, Nicole, if you were back in middle school, if your son's back in middle school and he's looking to go to Cap, and you came to Cap's game last week, they had all the kids come, the middle school kids come, and your kid's in middle school and he's going to be coming to Cap, and you watch Cap lose 75-0, how do you feel when you're looking at that and thinking, am I going to send my kid there for this? How would that impact you?
Again, I'm a very honest person. I didn't want my son to go to Capitol.
Okay.
That was my son's decision, going from West Side. It was his decision to stay again this year with his brothers that he went to Capitol with. They stuck together as far as loyalty goes. So at this point, I'll speak on our game against Hurricane, right? For what the score was. This is my opinion. That coach doesn't owe us anything. This is high school. Now I'm going to look at my coach. Okay, you wanted it down to a certain amount of time in the game, in your quarters. You should have called the game due to safety issues.
I don't know if he has the ability to do that. But let me say this. And I found this out directly from the horse's mouth. South Charleston Hurricane game, second half, at halftime, Coach Ressler asked his kids if they wanted to change go to the running clock. You know what they said? No.
Yeah.
To me, you just took a huge step on culture, teamwork, and pride. Mm-hmm. Because if they don't do that, they probably don't get that 7 points. And that 7 points was their win.
But to play devil's advocate, at what point are you as the coach? What's your responsibility to say, hey, this ain't going well. We're not doing good. Let's just lower the quarters.
But then let's look at it on our side too. Ever since that Hurricane game, every game but I believe one, we have lowered our time in the quarters after halftime, and that's crap.
Are
you saying that's not a good thing that you lower the time?
No.
So you saying
our
just let it
kids
play
need
through?
to play.
And that's one of the things that.
But to the argument, I would just say, because some people are going to listen to this and say, well, if you're outmatched, you're getting beat really bad, then go ahead and lower the clock, and we'll just play a JV game on Monday.
I'll defend Coach Ressler's reasoning prior to because I was like, why is he not changing? Why is he not changing the clock? This is prior to.
And for those people who don't know, the losing coach, who's ever getting I don't know.
They're losing by
35.
By 35.
They have the losing coach has the option to take it from a 12-minute quarter to an 8-minute quarter.
And the other coach has to agree with it.
And they both have to agree.
Yeah, they both have to agree. So he's made that choice, but and then he stopped making it because he said, if I keep doing this, we're not going to be conditioned to play a full game.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And see, and again, I didn't think about that.
But it's also, again, and I'm just going to bring this up because some people those coaches that choose to lower the score, they may argue, well, if we don't lower the score and we get beat 90-0 again, then we're going to have the same criticism coming to why we didn't lower the score.
But what are we teaching our young men?
I'm just saying that's.
Go ahead. I just want to know, what are we teaching our young men growing up in, after high school? They're going to college, So what are we teaching them? Let's give up. Yeah, listen, it's not easy. We can't win everything, and that's okay as long as there's growth. And that's the question: is there growth?
And
that's to your point, like what you just said.
And yes, and to a team who knows they're not going to win this game. Mm-hmm. They know they're not going to win this game. And to me, I would not have been the smartest coach to even give them that option. I would have said, no, we're going to finish this game, man. We're going to get out of this thing. So when you start looking at South Charleston High School football and the players themselves, who are they? How much better are they than? Because it's easy to ride the wave of winning. It's easy to celebrate when you win it and you got the best team. But when you say, I'm going to stand up to all that greatness that you have, all that hoopla that you got on the sideline, I'm going to stand up and we're going to play this whole game.
But you don't
and
think
you do
at some
what
point,
you do what you want to do to me, but we're going to play this whole game.
And I'll say, but you don't think at some juncture that hurts you? Like I said, you getting beat 80, 90, 60 to nothing. And I'm saying to nothing. I'm not saying forget what the other team scored, like we said the other day.
This is the fight we got to have every week.
Forget what the other team scored. So if they score 89 and you score 50, okay, we can live with that. If they score 40, you score 30, we can live with that. But when you're scoring 80, 60, 70 points and your team you're on is not scoring anything. I'm going to keep that clock rolling to have that week after week after week.
If you're bullying me and you got me down on the ground and you pounded on me, and you say, okay, do you want me to stop?
You're going to be like, yeah.
And you know what's going to happen? When I get up,
we're going to go at it again.
We're going back again.
Okay.
We're going to go back at it again because we're not going to finish this until I get something. and South Charleston, that team, those young kids said, no, we don't want to stop now. Let's keep going. And they got something out of it.
And good for them. And good for them because our boys are not quitters.
No.
Our boys are not quitters, and they have been forced to go out there and create a different mentality. And again, it's not a good one.
I think.
And it's not a good one.
To that point, stay there with me. So you're saying by actually lowering the quarters, kind of that's a way of quitting. And you're saying that could affect the mentality?
For every game, yes. Listen, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, I'm not even speaking on how my son feel, but finish it out, and then you can't say, well, the only reason that the score was that way is because y'all quit, and we could have raised the score up higher. Finish it out. Maybe that score wouldn't have went higher. Maybe it could have got better. Let them finish it out. They started out. Let them finish it. They started this season. They knew what it was going to be. They knew the boys knew what it was going to be. It wasn't going to be easy. But again, I'm going to take it back. Have they had any growth this season? We can call them young all day long.
Yep.
But they're going to remain young.
And to that point, Nikki, Coach Lee,
man, Jason.
Coach Lee, because when you're losing those games, y'all had a pretty successful season
this
at the
year,
man.
but last year I lost 55-6.
Okay, so but when you're losing those games, you kind of, not to say you walking in knowing you gonna lose, but when you're facing those teams, it's gonna be an uphill battle. Because Coach Lee and I talked about this the other day. What does a win look like? If you know you're clearly outmatched from a coaching's perspective, what does a win look like? Is it getting points? Is it getting some drives together? What?
All of the above. Some points, some drives together. Like last year's game against Westside, they destroyed us without arguably their best players, by the way. So shout out to Coach Walton and those guys. They pounded us without two of their best players. So the win for us was going down and scoring on that opening drive. And I thought for a split second we had a shot. Then the next kickoff went back. And I said, no, it wasn't the kickoff. I'm sorry. It was the next swing pass. Went all the way down. I said, we're
not going to do that.
Hey, we got a high mountain to climb here. So those are the type of victories. Now, to bring it back home about shortening the quarters, stopping the game, and all that, we've all seen the Rocky movies, right?
Yeah.
Rocky IV being my favorite but most painful because Apollo is not with us today. Because Rocky wouldn't throw in the towel. Yeah, Apollo fought the good fight. He was out there. He was dancing, coming to America, living to America, all that stuff. He was getting his butt tore up. Rocky should have thrown in that towel.
Yeah,
Apollo wasn't gonna win that fight. That man I know it's a character, but the point is there is a time to me as a coach we're wasting time. Where it's a safety issue.
That's my point.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna have these fans up here watching this stuff. We can go home and be comfortable.
When we played Hurricane, it was a safety issue at that point with that score.
Right.
But every other game that we've taken the time down to, that we shouldn't.
So you're saying like it's a point to do it, but you don't do it every single time.
Okay.
Sometimes like that one game. That Hurricane has those are grown men out there against our kids, right? And our kids work, right? But you're dealing with majority 9th and 10th graders.
Right.
We get that. but we don't give up. That one was a safety issue. Cool. But I'm still not angry at that coach because he don't owe us anything.
Okay.
I
guess that's my point, Coach. I don't know if the coach owed the other team anything.
All right, well, we got to go to break. Wait a minute. We got to go to break, but I'm going to say this before we go to the break, okay? Just so, if you're coaching high school, if you are a coach, and again, clarifying that you can judge me as over my coaching career all you want, okay? But the other side that I do know is I've played for some great coaches.
Yeah.
And I'll make this case. You owe every athlete that you come across something.
Can you say that again?
You owe every athlete because high school football is not just about South Charleston High School, Capital High School, Hurricane High School, Winfield. It is you care about your kids, but you don't want your kid to go out and hurt another kid.
Yeah.
And if another kid, because if it don't matter, don't walk out there when a kid on another team's hurt, and you walk out there to see if the kid's okay. Because if you don't care about him, don't walk out there. If you're a coach, you care about every individual athlete that's on the field. And if you don't, something's wrong. Something's wrong with you. All right, so I'm sure Hollis may have something to say back to that. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Contact Carl Lee on email, letstalkcarllee@gmail.com, or text 409-422-7539.
You're listening to Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Sponsorship opportunities are available. Email letstalk@promessage.com or call 304-342-8131. For more information, visit WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk. Now, back to the conversation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Carl Lee, and it's Let's Talk, and we are in a great discussion right now. Yeah. And I just finished up by making the case that if you're coaching youth football, middle school football, high school football, you cannot be about just the players on your team. Those are the guys you love. That's the guys you care about. But you should be rooting for the best of everybody's team, like all the kids. Not, because that's the importance of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so, and I like it when the opposing coach comes out on the field and stands by the kid that's hurt on the other team and ask him if he's okay. But Hollis, I'm gonna ask the question to you, because you gave me the feel as though you was gonna disagree with me a little bit on that. So tell me a little bit about what you thought about that.
Well, I don't necessarily disagree in totality. I guess what I'm saying is that as a coach, I have an obligation first to my team, and I have an obligation to work on the things that I need to work on, right? So, and I need to execute and get better. So, for example, the game that Coach Lee and I, we went to the game, Hurricane in South Charleston, and I felt like what they were trying to do, they were working on some stuff. Right. So they were working on some long passes. They were trying to execute some things, particularly with that first and second team, to get prepared to go play down the road. Yes. So you can't be mad at a coach for trying to work on things to try to execute, even if he has an opponent that's outmatched. Right. And I would agree to some degree to what Nikki said as far as they don't necessarily owe the opposing team anything, right? Now, to that point, with all that being said, I think there is a level of decorum that needs to be had, because if we're a brotherhood of coaches, right? Even beyond the players, and I like the point that you made, and I think that's appropriate. Every coach, we should be looking out for all players, right? But I think there's a brotherhood amongst coaches, and there's certain things that maybe certain lines you shouldn't cross, certain things you shouldn't do, particularly when you're up by large margins and things of that nature. So
I will say this, if I may. This podcast didn't help whenever Hurricane played Capital, because I I feel that, whenever you have people speaking on behalf of Capital, it's not the Capital parents and it's not the Capital athletes.
Right.
So then that's enraging, I'm sure.
Right.
This coach in particular or that team. It wasn't Capital. It wasn't us.
Right.
And it wasn't our athletes, right?
Right.
But boy, this show fires people up. And we got it. I don't think that it would have played out that way. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think you're
could be
wrong. I think you're wrong. I think it's the nature of it's the personality of the coach.
And we're the media. So
Yeah, no,
you know
listen,
what I'm
I'm
saying?
not knocking you all at all.
No.
But as humans,
So just to make your point clear, you're saying that like possibly it could have been this show that sparked that margin of victory.
This has been an ongoing conversation for how many weeks now with you?
Yeah.
all?
Oh, we've been doing this. We've been doing it for a while. But let me ask you. And
Hey,
look,
she brought the smoke.
Yeah.
She brought the smoke.
and look, and I'm with it. I'm all with it. Here's
I'm not blaming you all. I get
No,
I
it's
get your
perfect.
job,
It's
right?
No, you all good. No, you all good.
Just saying.
Cause you just saying, which is pointing the finger, which I'm good with it. Okay? Because here's the thing. If somebody can talk you up to beat somebody else's kids, something wrong with you. Something wrong with you. There ain't nothing you can say to me that's gonna make me take it out on Hollis.
Okay.
But again, what you're saying, I'd say go ask the coach. See if he feels like this is personal. Because I hope it's personal. Okay? I hope it's personal.
And for the record, we have invited every coach in the
Thank
Valley
you.
on.
I was going to ask you that.
Thank
Have
you.
you invited
We've
these
invited
coaches?
every coach in the Valley.
Thank you.
We have invited on. Every single one of them.
And it doesn't help with the opposing coaches before they go out before a big game like that to tell their kids that we know we're going to lose.
Yeah,
so your
I don't-
own team don't go out to perform.
I don't. Yeah, I
That
don't like
doesn't.
that.
No,
that doesn't.
I
agree with that.
So we can't point it just on one side either. You
That-
know.
That's true.
Well, but again, let's make it clear. We've offered a platform for everybody involved, from the person who. Because again, I'm not running from any blame or any reasoning or whatever. I had a text, or maybe it was maybe a Facebook comment that said, don't pay attention to him. He's just trying to be relevant. Let me. I don't need to be relevant. But if I want to be relevant, all I got to do is go north. I ain't asking nobody here in West Virginia to act like I am Randy Moss. I ain't that good. I ain't Jason Williams. I ain't that good.
Right.
Okay? I'm just me. And I'm good with it. Okay? But you can't take what I know or what I think away.
Right.
Now, to that point, I could never, no matter what I say, let me put this out here. So it's real simple. Don't take what I say out on somebody else's kids on the football field. Come talk to me. Because you ain't getting to me.
And I'm not necessarily saying it was you, right? So we
Right.
we have our diehard supporters,
but we probably the loudest. We probably the loudest.
We
voices.
are the loudest.
We the
voice,
loudest
yeah.
voices
Yeah.
on this.
We'll take that.
Yeah, we'll take that. I'll take it as a compliment. Now, like I said, I don't, because I think you're small. Let me say it again. I think you're small if you're mad at me because I said something and you're going to take it out on somebody else's kids. I could even give you the benefit of the doubt you should take it out on South Charleston because I love South Charleston. But didn't you coach there? Huh? I'm just saying, didn't he coach there? I mean, did he coach some of those kids that was there?
I'm going to tell you how bad this show is, to your point, Nikki. Coach Lee's mama run up on me several times. Say, all y'all do is argue on that show. I don't even watch it no more because I can't stand y'all arguing. So that's how bad it got. Miss Lee, Officer Lee, Chief Lee that ran up on me.
But hey, Coach, let me operate and say, I know certain coaches coach at certain places and then play those places. I'm really not liking the call names out in situations and stuff. Valley's too small. I got so much love for so many different people.
Yeah.
But if you felt like you were somewhere where you were disrespected, and then this is going to sound a little devil's advocate, but, you know, let's imagine someday I'm not here in the green, and I felt like some of those parents were disrespectful, and I go on down to somewhere else, and I come back to play Horseman. Yes, I used to coach there hypothetically, but maybe I don't feel that love because while I was there, the love was not reciprocated. So, am I making sense?
Yeah, it makes perfectly good sense. When I got released from the Vikings and went to the Saints, I could have said I hated the Vikings. How dare them let me go? I played in more games than anybody in the history of the Minnesota Vikings at my position. And they had the audacity to let me go. I'm mad because I can't make it to alumni weekend. Why? Because that's where I was at. I can't allow, or I'm not gonna hate something because they cut me. They made a business decision. My time was at the end. They knew it, even if I wanted to deny it. I got one more year in, and that 1 year I got in wasn't that good anyway. So they knew better than I did. And so to me, I don't feel like I have to.
You're not taking it personal.
No, I don't. I'm not. I don't take anything personal to the degree, and I'm not saying other people don't. Okay, but that ain't my responsibility. That ain't my. You know, I'm here with the mic to do a job.
Yeah.
That I enjoy, and so I don't have to be okay with what I say. You don't have to be okay with what I say. You know, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, but the truth is, in what I think. I'm not Stephen A. Smith by any stretch of the imagination, so I ain't even trying to go there, but I'm going to use him as the example.
Well, we the Kanawha Valley Stephen A.
You're not.
It's Stephen A.
Yeah, so
Uncle
Stephen
Shay.
A. does not care what he says or who he says it about. He says what he thinks.
That's true.
And in most cases, people call that good media. I'm trying to be good media. Don't blame me. Don't blame me. Don't get mad at me. I'm not playing.
Well,
I'm not coaching no more.
But they can get mad at you. They can get mad at us. It's all good.
They do get mad.
They get mad at us.
They do get mad.
They get mad at you and they get mad at me by proxy.
I think I get mad. Well, you get by proxy and I'm mad. How come they can't be mad at you and I get in proxy? So Nicole, tell me this. If you had to kind of decide on what the perfect coach for you looks like, what does he do to satisfy you? What would you need or want from him to coach your son? Like, how would that look like? What do you want for your kid out of? Well, let me make it simple. What do you want your son to get from sports? And can he get it from Cap?
At this point, no, he cannot get that from Capital. Now,
But tell me what it is that you want him to get.
my son wants to play ball longevity. So, again, he can...
Longevity like?
He wants to play in college.
Okay.
But, he'll be able to go to college, scholarship for academics alone.
Okay.
Okay.
So he's got a backup already.
Absolutely. Well, that's first for me.
No, but I'm just saying, if he doesn't get the athletic,
yes.
Okay.
So it's not about that. He's going to college regardless. That's something he wants to do. But he wants to play football longevity. And, again, if I'm being honest, they're playing on the 8th grade level right now. So what do I want from a coach? I'm not a coach, but I am a parent and I am an involved parent, and I do listen to these athletes. Okay. So you need involvement from the coaches. Okay. You need to try to switch up some things. You need to know your players. You need to help grow your players, help build them up. Yes, they can work on their own. These kids do work on their own. I've heard it say, if you want it, you got to work on it. You got to put in your own work. These kids do. Now, can they do more? Absolutely. Who can't do more at something that they need to do, right? Mm-hmm. But if we have coaches, what are the coaches there for if the kids are working on their own?
So
let me ask you a question, just from a parent's perspective, because one of the things that I brought up, and this is all from Coach Carp, is the systemic issues that, like a school like Capital, and really, I would say maybe one of the few schools in the state that are facing, far as the economic situation, far as Lately Field, the concession, not having their own field, sharing the field with 3 other schools. How does that impact just the players and the parents from that perspective?
It doesn't, because you know why? We're from the West Side.
Okay.
They ain't had a field.
Yeah.
They have not had a field. Our midget leagues have not had their own fields. Okay? We've always had to pay lately. We're not complaining about that. Now, listen, don't get me wrong. It would be great to have our own field, right? Same for you all.
Yes.
Yeah. You all have to go to Lately for middle school to come practice. So it doesn't just start at Capitol High School.
But don't you think that makes it and again, far as Little League, middle school, there's a bit of a difference because you're playing in county. But when you're playing against other schools that are situated differently, that have a better economic position, doesn't that make, because this is the same complaint that Coach Carp had. This is basically why they forced him out, essentially. Because I think he foresaw what was coming. Because it's difficult not only to have that practice time, to also attract and retain players when when Capital went from the top of the facility, now you're at the bottom. That doesn't make that has to make somewhat of an impact, right?
Well, and you have to speak up if that's what you want. You have to speak up. The community needs to speak up, and those coaches need to speak up. The principal needs to speak up, and everybody needs to put their foot in front of the next and come together and make something happen. But fair. I'm not getting ready to use that as no excuse.
But I'll make this. I'll make this case in defense of the coaches. There's not going to be, and I'll preface this by saying, unless you are Coach Carp, willing to potentially end your coaching career, coaches know that they don't have that power. They don't have that power to make that change. One or two things are going to happen. They're going to get put out of the school,
or they're going to find you a reason to put you out.
Or they're going to find a reason to put you out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just because you don't have. Think about it this way: what coach does not want better facilities for his team? Coach Lee. Huh? You know what I'm saying?
Or your own facility.
For your own,
say that.
Everybody wants their own facility.
You want your own. You want to control your
You want to
space.
control the time that you can practice.
Yes,
you ain't got to work around everybody.
And that should have started from the jump of the school opening. We're dealing with this how many years later?
But how many coaches have you had? So this can't be a coach issue. Because it's all the coaches. It's been all the coaches.
Well, I think it was masked because the talent was so dense at one time that all that stuff ain't matter.
Come on now.
Because it was masked for years on you. Because you talk about Capital had a 30-year run where the talent was so dense that a 5-5 or maybe a 6-4 season was a horrible year.
Oh yeah, you used to get talked about.
Used to get talked about. I remember the first time they went 5-5, and it was like the world was coming down. But now it's dissipated with rules that in place and everything like that.
And there is no question that the better when it was Charleston High, when it was Capital and went to Capital, there was no reward for how good they were. There was no reward like, okay, let's get them a stadium, let's build some fields or something. There was none of that. But every single number of coaches who have come through that system, everybody knows Coach Carpenter. They know him because of the fight that he put up and what it cost him. Ain't nobody really willing to do that fight now.
And he was the only one that actually posed that position.
Absolutely.
Anyway. Nobody else
did
it.
And I'll say this not for the fun of it, but for the facts of it. He didn't have to. Here's a white man fighting for Capital.
Absolutely.
He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to lose his coaching career and still out of coaching. And you know what I'd say? If I'm in Charleston and Coach Carpenter's out there just floating, and I'm not talking about getting rid of another coach or nothing like that. I'm saying, why can my kid not be part of this man? How are you keeping this man from my kid?
Are you saying if you just had another school, whatever?
Yes. Yes. How's he not coaching? You're not letting him coach because of something. You got a little issue with him, but you don't know what he's doing for my child. And you keeping him out of the system? For what? Because you don't like it? He said something that you was uncomfortable with? Come on. Let's be honest. How's that possible?
Yeah. Maybe, but it has consequences.
Everybody want a great coach. Yeah. I guarantee you, if they said, Coach Carpenter, you can coach anywhere you want to go in the Valley right now. If I'm coaching on the coaching staff, I'm nervous. I'm nervous.
Definitely.
Because I'm thinking, uh-oh. Is Bryce Castro going to call him? You know what I'm saying? Because that's just how it is.
And I want to be clear, like when we talk about specifically the coaches at Capitol, these are really, really good men.
Absolutely.
These are men that have been working in this community for 30-plus years. These men that put on camps when nobody else was doing it.
Which is why we tried to get them to come on and talk about that good stuff that they have done.
So I want to say that just for the audience, anybody who's listening, these are excellent men who works in this community. And that sacrifice and do all the things. Again, we can disagree, coach, and all that other things like that. But as far as the men that they are, these are men that hold those positions.
And again, just in case, because I tend to talk over you sometimes, I just want to make sure. Yeah. I just want to make sure.
The audience got my back on that.
I think that when we start looking at coaches, and when a coach won't come on the show because we're going to talk all the good about what tell me about a kid that was nowhere, and now all of a sudden he's somewhere on your roster. Yeah. We wanted to give them that platform to do it. Now, maybe it's our show. Maybe it's the way that our show goes that they got uncomfortable with it. But I would have loved for them to be able to come out and talk and say this about our program.
And I think that's the modern way. Like whether you're doing it on social media, whether it's through a show, video, particularly being a big high school, and a college coach, you got to be a part of the media. You can't duck media day.
Yeah, and I think there's things that you could say that people don't know. I mean, how many times has somebody said that y'all made a wrong call or whatever, game. And they have no idea the game plan? They have you know what I'm saying?
No, literally every game.
Yeah,
every play.
And there's nothing wrong with being in the bleachers and feeling like you're making the calls and you know what's right. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, you should never pass up an opportunity to talk positive about something that is negative.
That and having meetings. I mean, I've requested meetings.
Oh, I wouldn't do that. If I was a coach, I wouldn't do that.
You do it. This transfer portal is such a big deal. I want to know what can we do to not make our kids leave.
I agree with you on that, coach.
Well, here's my thing. Yeah. I'm talking to my kids. I'm not talking, now, because I'm not going to sell a parent. I just don't buy that I don't know if I could come to you and say, okay, don't transfer your kid. It's going to da-da-da-da. And we're at South Charleston.
But I will say, and again, this is a modern era, and I think you have to do things different if you're facing the reality of losing. Because the thing is now, as it stands now, you can be situated like a St. Albans, where you could just have 22, 21 players at a varsity AAA school.
Yeah.
That could literally be any school in the Valley, not just talking about Capital.
Right.
So I'm not saying that parents should have a voice in kind of what we doing or the plays we calling, but I think there probably needs to be more open lines of communication.
Well, okay, but again, I'm going to pass that. I'm going to take that past the coach, maybe put it to the athletic director,
that makes
or potentially the principal. Because at the end of the day, my job is to coach.
Okay, go ahead, J-Bo. You've been trying to get
actually, I want to jump back to the whole coaches coming on this or any other show. Honestly, I cannot blame any coach for declining the invitation. But I'm here today as a parent of a senior kicker Remember that. Senior kicker. Not a senior D1 recruit. Not a senior D2, 3.
And a soccer player.
And a soccer player. By the way, one heck of a defender.
And a lacrosse player.
And a lacrosse player. Man,
so he's an athlete.
That's my boy. That's Jason Lee. But anyway, so I have a more comfortable seat than some other parents whose children are really, really serious football players. The point is, though, as a coach of a middle school team, coaches can't win behind this mic. Because if I come on here and we just talking about my little middle school team, I'm liable to say something that's going to be misinterpreted, or I'm liable to get in a back and forth with hosts, coach, parents and other things about the decisions that we make. So it's a no-win.
But it's part of the game now. Because hold up, what I'm saying is that not only are coaches getting interviewed post-game, pre-game, they're getting interviewed 2 and 3 times during the game now. So, and this is collegiate, obviously.
Right, yeah.
But what I'm saying is like media and you putting yourself out there, the program, you constantly selling your program, that's part of the game now. And I just don't see it no other way. Coaches do they have press conferences, they're doing newspaper interviews. You got to be it's part of the game, and you got to be media trained and savvy enough to know what to say and what not to say.
So I guess I'm thinking more on a national level. That's cool, but we live here in the valley. Like I live just over, like I'm gonna see the person whose child on my team. You know what I mean?
You have to keep it all the way 100
Right.
and keep it real.
Yeah.
You can't keep it too real. You can't keep it too real.
Listen.
I gotta go to the grocery store, man.
I'm with it.
I gotta go to the barbershop.
But you know what?
Stand on
Here's what I'm willing to stand on. Like, you can't come at me and say, you can write whatever you want and say, oh, he ain't no coach. Look at what he did at State. You don't know what I did at State unless you was at State. For the guys the guys who I coached, you don't know what I did for them. What you know is the record.
Right.
But what you don't know is the effort in which I put in for those kids.
Right.
At South Charleston, I left. I ain't never quit nothing in my life. I left for the simple fact, it wasn't me. It was not going to be me to do that. And there was no way I was going to be able to dig them out of that. So I left. I understand me. Okay? But if you can't take a little bit of heat, then I get it that you don't want to come on the show. Okay? And at this point, we don't want you on the show. Okay? I don't need you. But I'm going to make the case that, for me, Bob Pruitt was my DB coach at Marshall. Fun-loving guy, taught me a whole bunch of stuff. So I got that. I got touched by that guy, okay? Sonny Randall, who played 10 or 11, 12 years in the league. He was my head coach. I got touched by him. A host of other coaches who've been all over the place in collegiate football. I go to Minnesota, I get Bud Grant, Hall of Fame coach. I get Pete Carroll as my DB coach. So think about that. Bob Pruitt and Pete Carroll. And you know what they taught me? To play ball. To play ball. To play ball. Well, Pete Carroll, we used to play horse at practice facility before our meetings. Did he ever sit down and have a serious conversation? Yeah. Did he ever have a life situation conversation? No. The expectation on youth football, there's a parent piece to this too. I watch coaches try to coach kids, 5, 6 year olds. Parents see their kids. High school, parents see their kids. Middle school, parents see their kids. All it takes, though, is us to lose. And now there's the complaint going to be passed down to the coach. I ain't saying coaches don't cause wins and losses, but Bill Belichick, one of the best coaches ever, was in Cleveland, and when he didn't have a team, he was horrible.
He's struggling now.
Struggling now.
Yeah, struggling now.
Struggling
too.
now. What? Tom Brady ain't there. Tom Brady ain't there. So what's the difference in who he was now, what he is now, and what he was before? Players.
You can't do that. You can't do it because the thing is, you as a coach, again, I'm not.
So he changed something.
No. I'm saying you got to get the best at what you got. So if
I'm not saying he ain't getting the best.
What I'm saying
maybe
is
the best is only 3 or 4 games.
I think some coaches, and I'm not speaking to anybody specifically. I'm just saying some coaches will lean into that and will just say, well, I just ain't got the players. I just can't. That can't never be your excuse.
I don't think that is.
You got to coach what you got.
Let's take it back to what the topic is, which is the transfer portal. Why do we not have the players? Why? I need that answered. Why are our players
Because somebody is knocking on the door.
No.
So, yes. Somebody's knocking on the door.
That's
saying,
part of it.
Yeah,
that's part of it.
They're telling you. Listen. I heard. I heard a conversation.
What do you think? I mean, we can only go with what we have. Like, because I've heard. I can't say that.
Yeah,
but,
you can. You just say you heard it.
I can't say that. But what do you think? What's the reason that these kids are just jumping from school to school or to bigger or better schools?
They're not being coached. They're not growing.
And when you say
we're going
coach,
to be young. We're young. We'll take that being young this year, right? Mm-hmm. We weren't young last year. Okay? We're going to continue to be young as long as they're seeing that there's no growth going on. These kids coming up from middle school, they see that there's no growth. They see what's going on. They're practicing on the field with our boys. You got middle school hitting. You got us not hitting. You got middle school running certain plays and got a powerful program with Westside as well. The high school kids is looking down at the middle school.
Mm-hmm. And when you say not growing, what do you mean?
Developing more.
Developing as football players, men. What does that mean?
As football players.
Some of the reality of development is the ability to understand your own individual weaknesses. Okay? And the responsibility for the coach, no matter what we want it to be, is to win. At the core, don't win. You ain't coaching. Okay? Now, that like that or not, that's the reality. Come on now.
No. Yeah. That's a reality, but I think also if you're taking steps, I think fans and people who are in the know, parents, if you're taking steps, so if you're starting at one level and by end of season you're here, I think that could be accepted. As long as the steps keep going.
You can see a little bit of growth.
Right.
Listen, we were used to winning coming from middle school. High school's different. I get it. We're losing. Okay, fine. If I see some growth, I need to see some growth from the whole team. Yes, they can work on their own. They can train.
Well, tell me what growth looks like. Tell me what growth looks like.
Becoming stronger players. And listen, I'm just a mom. I don't claim to know everything about football, right? But at getting more skill set. Let's do some different things. Let's wrap up because we forgetting to wrap up now. You don't forget to wrap up in football. You've been playing it your whole life.
Part of. But
that's a term of art right there.
Yeah. So you know enough about football because you're talking about wrapping up.
That's it.
But for us who have played it, part of wrapping up is I really want to wrap. I gotta want to wrap up. The coach
and you have to have that confidence too.
But the coaches can't get you because I promise you, in practice when you're hitting that dummy, or you hitting a guy that's going not full speed and you tackling him,
or when it's cold outside.
Or when it's cold outside, there's a difference. There's a difference when all of a sudden, because trust me, I can make the case that South Charleston against Hurricane. I saw, Hurricanes running the football, and I see guys leaning back, reaching forward. That ain't gonna work. I know they didn't get taught that.
Right.
Coach didn't teach them that.
We can talk about everything. I mean, listen, we can go to tackling, to blocking, to whatever the case may be, right? And there's no growth.
And I again, I'll make the case that I don't think anybody, Coach, I don't think anybody does not coach it. The question is do you do it?
Well, again,
I'm not blaming it on the athlete per se, but the mindset that none of us knows, even if it's your child, the mindset of how you adopt that coaching thing. Like, how many times do you think you have coached something, coached it, and get in the game, call it, and all of a sudden it's totally different.
We say cover two, or we say, do your read steps, ball snap, set hut, corners feet planted. Nowhere did we teach in your read steps, your feet, you don't move.
And see, that's the I think that is the issue in when we start talking about, the coach is not giving them anything. And to your own point, like you said, I don't know football. I don't know. I just don't see the growth. Part of that.
But let me ask you this though: is it you don't see the growth or you don't see the result?
There's no teaching. You have to continue to teach to get to the next level. These kids are going off to college next, right?
Yeah.
They like to be able to play ball in that. They're not going to be ready for that right now. They're not.
There could be the reality that this is the hard, cold facts. That the reality could be maybe they're not good enough to get to that next level.
That could be.
And so there's the potential is that may not be something that's even in their window. But my thing is, be the best you can be at the level that you're at. And the only way that you can do that is you have to do things, and they have to be done right. And I don't think any coach teaches something when it comes to tackling, snapping the ball, punting the ball. Like, I don't think any coach coaches somebody to drop the ball, to jump off sides, to miss a tackle.
I mean, but to that point,
and
I'm not saying anybody, but there are bad coaches out there. We can't start that.
I'm not defending every coach. I was one.
Yeah.
So, but what I knew, and what I taught was effective. So, to the point of a coach, you kind of have to look and see coaching DBs.
But
Arnett Austin.
But I'll say this.
He got it.
But I'll say this: there's a difference in telling somebody and showing somebody how to do something as opposed to teaching somebody how to do something. I think too often we take teaching is a skill in and of itself.
Yes.
So being able to communicate it, because you can show somebody how to do the read step. I can tell you what to do. I can tell you when to do it. But me teaching you is how you're going to learn it. So we can't necessarily just say just because I showed you or just because I demonstrated that's me teaching you. You know what I'm saying? And I think I'll say this: every coach ain't a teacher, and every teacher ain't a coach.
True.
If that makes sense.
True. I'm with you. Yeah. Nicole, we got the last word. You tell us something, Coach. You tell us something, and I'll wrap us up. So, anything you got to say to close out?
It's time for a change.
Change. What you changing?
We're changing everything. We're moving forward. Stay tuned.
Give me something. Give me something.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Okay.
It's time for a change.
All right, Coach.
I honestly think the world has changed, as Hollis says. The landscape of high school sports has changed, and we live in a "what have you done for me lately" time. It's a recency bias. Within the last 5 years, I can think of 2 schools who have had really competitive teams that now don't. That's just 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and I think people see the newest, shiniest thing, and that's where I need to go. Forgetting that some of those shiny things don't have the successful history of other places on the field. You know what I mean? So we got to go here, we got to go there, because this is the program, and that's the program. Well, to bring it all back home, people have a lot to do with the program. People have a lot to do with the program.
Yeah.
So I'll just leave it there with all due respect to everybody. Much love, Coach Lee out.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you got something out of the show today. But I'm gonna end it by saying this. I truly believe that our young athletes in the state, in the Valley, specifically in the Valley, I think they have as much talent as anybody else. But when you start taking them and placing them in different places and building all-star teams, I think you do the youngest ones an injustice. And if you don't stop, if you keep allowing this to happen, what's going to happen is you're going to find out that there's going to be a team that's not going to be able to field the team. And when they are not able to field a team, the disaster in which the number of kids who need sports, the number of kids who needs football to go to school, they're going to miss out. They're not going to get it. And they're not going to get it for a simple reason of other kids leaving, chasing a rainbow that probably they may not get. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's us today. And this is Carl Lee with Let's Talk, and we'll be back with you again soon. We're out.
The opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of WVRC Media, its management, employees, or sponsors. Contact Carl Lee on email, letstalkcarllee@gmail.com, or text 409-422-7539.